Her helmet fell, and in that moment, I decided I'd defy every law to HFY Stories. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport of the Coalition flagship Aurora's Edge. The ship moved gracefully through the void, a silent testament to countless years of interstellar cooperation. To most of its inhabitants, it was a place of order, precision, and unwavering adherence to rules that had been set by generations of aliens who had long mastered the art of survival in the cosmos. Humans, however, had always been something different, reckless in the eyes of the Coalition, yet stubbornly alive with curiosity and courage. Lieutenant Arya Kepler adjusted the straps of her suit helmet, checking every latch and gauge twice. Her hands moved deftly, a rhythm she had perfected after years of training. She was young, perhaps younger than most officers aboard the Aurora's Edge, but she carried herself with a quiet confidence that had earned her respect among her peers and caution among her superiors. Today's mission was simple, or so it seemed. A routine inspection of the ship's outer hull after the minor turbulence that had rocked the vessel in the past sector. Nothing dangerous, at least according to the Coalition's strict protocols. Arya's mind wandered briefly as she floated outside the hull in zero gravity, tethered to the ship by a thin cable. The stars glimmered like distant diamonds, and for a moment she felt the familiar thrill of space that never failed to make her pulse quicken. Humans were strange, thought the alien overseer watching from the control deck, with their emotions and impulses so visibly tied to their biology. Most aliens could not imagine voluntarily putting themselves in harm's way for anything less than strategic advantage. But humans acted on something else entirely, something the Coalition could never quantify: instinct, empathy, and the unpredictable spark of courage. Suddenly, a sharp vibration ran along the hull. Arya's eyes widened. A piece of debris, jagged and unexpected, struck her helmet. The impact was minor but enough to loosen the locking mechanism. Before she could react, the helmet twisted, then fell away, spinning into the emptiness behind her. The cold, unforgiving vacuum of space pressed in like an invisible wall. Her suit was designed for emergencies, but the helmet was her lifeline. Without it, every second counted. Her breathing came fast and shallow as panic threatened to seize her. She knew the protocol: remain calm, signal for immediate rescue, and wait. But waiting meant death. Every alien officer on the control deck held their breath as Arya's oxygen levels began to drop. Commander Jalen Rourke, a human captain with a reputation for bending rules when the stakes were high, stared at the monitors. His jaw tightened. The alien protocols flashed red warnings across the console, instructing him to let natural procedures take their course. No human could survive without their helmet in the vacuum of space, they said. Yet he could not simply watch. "Move," he whispered under his breath, though no one would hear him but the ship's AI. He released the restraints on his own suit, ignoring the Coalition's command protocols that forbade unsanctioned EVA operations. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to obey, to wait, to follow the rules. But in that moment, seeing Arya suspended in the void, he acted purely on instinct. Arya's vision blurred. Tiny sparks of light danced before her eyes. She could see the approaching shadow of the rescue pod, moving faster than any protocol allowed. Jalen had taken manual control, ignoring the Coalition's automated systems. She felt a surge of hope. Somehow, he was coming for her. Somehow, humanity's unpredictability was giving her a chance. The pod reached her just as the suit began to signal critical oxygen depletion. With expert precision, Jalen maneuvered it to intercept her, stabilizing her body with magnetic clamps. He moved with a confidence that the aliens around him could not comprehend. The rescue was calculated, yet instinctual, a human paradox. Arya was pulled inside the pod, the hatch sealing with a hiss. The warmth and pressure of the enclosed space hit her like a wave. She gasped, her chest heaving as relief and shock warred within her. Jalen removed his own helmet, revealing a face streaked with sweat but calm, focused, and utterly human. "You're alive," he said simply, and you're going to stay that way. The thought of dying in space alone had flashed in her mind in an instant. The aliens monitoring the situation were silent. Many of them could not understand what had just happened. Humans were fragile, yes, yet somehow capable of feats that defied every logical calculation. Jalen's decision would result in a tribunal, the aliens said, but for now, the immediate crisis was over. Humanity had won another small, silent victory in a universe that rarely acknowledged such defiance. Back on the control deck, whispers spread. Crew members watched the monitors replay the event from multiple angles. They had expected compliance, routine behavior, and adherence to procedure. Instead, they saw something entirely different: instinct overriding regulation, courage defying fear, and above all, the human will to survive, not just for oneself but for another. Arya spent the next hour in the medical bay, connected to oxygen regulators and monitoring systems. Her body was fine, but her mind raced. She could still feel the pull of space, the cold grip of the void brushing against her skin. More than that, she felt a profound respect for the human who had risked everything for her. Humans, she realized, were not merely capable of surviving. They were capable of inspiring, of reshaping the expectations of every being who crossed their path. Jalen entered the medical bay quietly, giving her a nod. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying the weight of someone who had seen too many rules and too little life. "Alive," she replied simply, though her eyes betrayed her awe. "And grateful. Sometimes we do what we must, even if it breaks every law we've been told to follow." It lay in the heart, the instinct, and the courage to act when action mattered most. As the day passed, the Aurora's edge continued its journey through the stars. Arya trained again, but her mind wandered to the pod, to Jalen's eyes, to the lesson she had learned. Rules could guide, but they could never define the limits of human will. She began to see a larger picture, the galaxy full of dangers, of calculated risks, of situations no protocol could predict. And she realized that humans were not just participants in this vast expanse. They were catalysts, capable of changing outcomes in ways that no alien system could anticipate. Later, in the observation lounge, Arya floated near the glass, looking out at a distant nebula. Its colors shifted and shimmered in ways she had never seen. To the aliens, it was merely a natural phenomenon, a beautiful but irrelevant display of cosmic forces. But to her, it symbolized something more: the unpredictable, uncontainable, and utterly human spark of life. "Do you ever wonder," she asked aloud, though there was no one immediately near, "if we humans are the universe's way of testing the rules? Or maybe we're just proof that the universe is never as neat as anyone thinks?" Humanity's journey was only beginning, and already it had shown the galaxy that courage, compassion, and instinct were powers no technology could match. In that quiet, weightless space, Arya understood something vital. Every human before her had faced impossible odds. Every human after her would face new ones, but the core of what it meant to be human remained constant: to survive, to protect, to defy when necessary, to act when action was the only choice that could preserve life. The helmet had fallen. Rules had been broken. Yet in that fleeting, terrifying moment, humanity had risen. And Arya knew, deep in her heart, that the galaxy had just glimpsed the first spark of something extraordinary. No alien protocol could ever fully contain it. No tribunal could ever erase it. Humanity was alive, unstoppable, and endlessly surprising. And in the vast, indifferent expanse of space, that truth shone brighter than any star. The calm of space never lasted for long aboard the Aurora's edge. Days after the helmet incident, whispers still floated through the ship like invisible currents. Humans and aliens alike had seen what had happened, and the event had sparked quiet debates in every corner of the flagship. Some aliens admired Jalen's courage, though few would admit it openly. Others considered his actions dangerous, reckless, and a direct challenge to the Coalition's rules. Arya, meanwhile, could not stop thinking about that moment. Floating in the vacuum, her life slipping away, and then Jalen defying every law to save her, she felt a mix of awe and determination. The incident had shown her not only the bravery of one human, but the unique power of humanity itself. Humans had a way of seeing opportunities where rules saw only impossibilities. They had a way of acting when others froze. A new mission arrived unexpectedly. The Coalition's communications hub on the planet Xylar 5 had gone dark. The planet was in the outer fringe, a sector known for unstable gravitational anomalies and frequent meteor showers. The aliens assigned to investigate were methodical, following every protocol precisely. Yet the humans aboard sensed the urgency in a way that systems and procedures never could. Captain Jalen gathered his crew in the command center. "We need to move fast," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The Coalition wants data, but I want everyone alive when we leave. Follow the rules if you must, but be ready to think beyond them. Humanity has a skill no system can replicate: improvisation, and we're going to need it." She had learned quickly that thinking beyond the rules often meant taking risks that could save lives. The mission was dangerous, yes, but it was also an opportunity to show the galaxy what humans could do when instinct and courage guided their choices. The Aurora's Edge entered Xylar 5 orbit cautiously. The planet was a storm of colors, with auroras dancing across the sky and electrical storms crackling over jagged mountain ranges. The communications hub floated just above the surface, a small but vital structure tethered to the planet's unstable magnetic field. Sensors reported intermittent activity, but the readings were strange, nothing like the humans had seen, nothing the aliens fully understood. Lieutenant Arya suited up for an EVA inspection. Her helmet secured tightly this time, though the memory of the last incident made her hands tremble slightly. She glanced at Jalen. "Ready?" she asked. He nodded, eyes sharp. "Ready. But remember, protocols may not help us here. Trust your instincts." To Arya, every hesitation could mean disaster. As they approached the hub, the sensors began to spike. Electrical surges danced across the planet's magnetic field, making readings jump unpredictably. The aliens froze, uncertain what to do. Their systems were designed for known threats, predictable anomalies, and controlled environments, but humans could adapt. Arya's eyes scanned the hub, quickly identifying areas of structural weakness caused by the planet's chaotic magnetic storms. "Overload in Sector 3, she called, pointing to the readings. "If we don't stabilize it, the hub could collapse." Arya's pulse quickened. She knew she had to act. Without hesitation, she unhooked her tether and floated toward the hub. The aliens gasped. "Human protocol violation," one of them shouted. But Arya ignored them. She pressed her hands to the hull, using her strength and intuition to manually reroute power from a secondary generator. Sparks flew, and a small surge of energy hummed through her gloves, but she continued, carefully adjusting the systems. Jalen watched from the ship, holding his breath. He knew that if the aliens interfered, it could delay the procedure, possibly endangering Arya. But he also knew humans had a remarkable ability to calculate risks instinctively, a skill no alien system could match. Minutes passed like hours. Arya's gloves began to heat from the energy surges, and sweat formed on her forehead beneath her helmet. But step by step, she stabilized the hub. The sensors began to normalize and the flickering lights steadied. The aliens' mouths hung open. They had been trained to handle crises according to protocol, but their rules had failed where human courage and quick thinking had succeeded. When Arya finally floated back to the tether, Jalen was waiting, a faint smile on his face. "You did it," he said simply. Arya shook her head, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it. Humanity did it." Humanity had proven that courage, instinct, and intelligence could surpass rigid rules. The Coalition often measured strength in machines, technology, and adherence to order. Humans measured strength differently, through action, determination, and the willingness to take risks for the sake of life. That evening, as the crew prepared for rest, Jalen approached Arya once more. "You're learning quickly," he said, "but the galaxy is full of situations where instinct beats protocol. Remember this feeling. Remember that courage and intelligence combined are humanity's greatest tools." Coalition intelligence reported that a research station on a nearby asteroid belt had lost contact. The station was crucial for studying rare cosmic phenomena, and the aliens feared that any delay could result in catastrophic loss. Jalen and Arya were assigned to lead the rescue, humans in command of a situation that demanded improvisation over procedure. As the Aurora's edge approached the asteroid belt, the sensors went wild. The rocks moved unpredictably, shifting with gravitational tides that no alien system had fully mapped. The automated navigation programs could only calculate a path so far. Beyond that, success depended on judgment, reaction, and human intuition. Arya and Jalen took the controls for a small exploration pod. The aliens around them murmured nervously, unwilling to act outside the automated guidance. But the humans relied on their instincts. They dodged asteroids with precision, predicting movements that no algorithm could foresee. Every maneuver, every decision, showcased the unique combination of courage and intelligence that defined humanity. Halfway through the belt, they found the research station. It had suffered damage from a small but fast-moving asteroid. Airlocks were breached, and internal systems fluctuated wildly. Standard procedures demanded waiting for authorization to enter, but Arya and Jalen saw the danger. The longer they delayed, the more likely the station would collapse and the scientists inside would be lost. Jalen looked at Arya. "Your call," he said. Arya's eyes scanned the structure. "We go in now. I know it's risky, but if we wait, they won't survive." Step by step, they repaired critical systems, sealing breaches and stabilizing life support. Inside the station, the scientists watched in awe. They had relied on coalition rules for years, but humans had shown them something different. Action born of courage and instinct. Every move was dangerous, calculated not by regulations, but by the human ability to weigh risk and act decisively. Hours passed, and finally the station was safe. The scientists were alive, systems stable, and the asteroid belt's dangers mitigated. Jalen and Arya floated back to their pod, exhausted but victorious. Back aboard the flagship, the aliens had no choice but to acknowledge the outcome. The humans had succeeded where their protocols had stalled. Quietly, they began to reconsider what human ingenuity and courage could mean for the coalition. Perhaps humans were not reckless at all. Perhaps they were necessary. That night, Arya and Jalen spoke quietly in the observation lounge. The stars stretched endlessly before them, distant and untouchable, yet alive with possibility. "Humans are different," Arya said softly. "Not better, not worse. Just unpredictable." But humanity's strength could not be contained by rules or regulations. It thrived in action, in courage, in moments when instinct overcame fear. For the first time, she realized that humanity's greatest power was not in technology or numbers. It was in their hearts, in their ability to defy odds, challenge expectations, and rise when every system said failure was inevitable. And with every mission, every daring act, humans were proving that the galaxy had underestimated them for far too long. The stars outside seemed to shimmer brighter that night, reflecting the spark that had begun in a single helmet falling, in a single act of courage, and now in every human willing to act when it mattered most. The days following the asteroid belt rescue brought tension aboard the Aurora's edge. The Coalition's council had convened to review the human crew's actions. While many praised the results, others saw a dangerous pattern. Humans acting outside of protocol, defying the Coalition's strict rules. Some alien leaders whispered that humans were unpredictable and therefore potentially uncontrollable. Jalen walked the corridors of the flagship, feeling the weight of scrutiny in every step. He had faced tribunal warnings before, but this felt different. This time, the Coalition's representatives seemed determined to set an example. Yet, he knew that humanity's strength lay in courage, ingenuity, and resilience, qualities that no alien rule could suppress. Arya joined him in the command lounge, her expression thoughtful. "They're worried about us," she said quietly, watching a holographic display of Coalition Council members debating. "They don't understand that humans act because they care. It's not recklessness, it's instinct. Not with threats or weapons, but with action, courage, and intelligence. That's our strength." Automated defense systems were insufficient, and the aliens on the scene were hesitant to act beyond their protocols. The situation demanded quick thinking, improvisation, and courage, the very qualities humans excelled at. The Coalition sent orders. Humans were not to interfere directly. Protocol dictated that the aliens on-site handle the crisis. Jalen and Arya reviewed the data and immediately knew that waiting was not an option. Every minute of delay increased the likelihood of total destruction. "This is our chance," Jalen said, determination in his eyes. "We either follow their rules and watch them fail, or we act and save lives. You know what we have to do." "Let's go." She maneuvered through the debris with precision, predicting movements instinctively. Jalen coordinated multiple pods, guiding them to intercept the largest fragments and divert them from the colony. Communication between the humans was rapid, concise, and effective, each action calculated yet flexible, responding to changes in real time. The aliens watched in awe as the humans orchestrated a rescue operation no algorithm could achieve. Every move defied the Coalition's expectations. Every decision showcased human courage, intelligence, and the ability to act decisively under pressure. Halfway through the operation, a massive asteroid shifted unexpectedly, heading straight for the colony's central power hub. Protocols would have demanded evacuation or a controlled explosion, risking large-scale damage. Arya had no time to calculate. She acted. Using her pod's magnetic clamps, she latched onto the asteroid and with sheer force and ingenuity redirected it into a safer trajectory. Sparks flew, alarms rang, and the humans' pods strained against the weight, but the asteroid missed the hub by mere meters. The colony's core remained intact. Back on the Aurora's edge, the Coalition representatives monitored the event with a mixture of fear and disbelief. Human methods were chaotic, reckless even, but they worked. Lives were saved. The colony survived. And for the first time, the Coalition had to admit that humans' unpredictable nature could be an asset rather than a liability. After the operation, Arya and Jalen returned to the flagship. Exhausted but triumphant, they were met with a mixture of applause and wary glances. Some aliens tried to mask their admiration with procedural remarks. Others whispered privately, acknowledging that humans had just performed feats that no machine or rule could achieve. Jalen gathered the human crew in the lounge. "You did exactly what humans do best," he said. "You acted when action mattered. You solved problems no rulebook could fix. That's who we are. That's why the galaxy will never fully control us, and why we're valuable." Their actions were not just about saving the colony. They were about proving a fundamental truth. Humans were different, capable of achieving what others deemed impossible. The Coalition's council did not respond immediately. Some members demanded disciplinary action. Others, quietly impressed, recommended reevaluating human capabilities. It was clear that a debate was coming, one that could determine humanity's future in the galaxy. But Arya and Jalen knew one thing: rules could delay action, but courage and intelligence could never be contained. The next days brought a new challenge. A Coalition research vessel studying a nearby neutron star encountered a catastrophic failure. Its engines had been damaged by intense radiation, and it was drifting toward a dangerous gravitational field. Protocol demanded waiting for repair teams, but time was short. Humans were the only ones capable of improvising a solution in real time. Jalen and Arya once again prepared their pods. The radiation from the neutron star caused the alien crew to hesitate. Their shields and systems were optimized for controlled environments, not chaotic fields of extreme energy. Humans, however, were adaptable. Arya calculated a course based on instinct, experience, and rapid observation, weaving her pod through bursts of radiation and gravitational distortion with a precision no algorithm could match. Jalen coordinated a daring rescue maneuver, using human creativity to stabilize the failing engines remotely while guiding the vessel to a safer orbit. The humans' pods acted as extensions of their intuition, each movement reflecting the combination of courage, quick thinking, and adaptability that defined their species. Hours later, the research vessel was safe. The alien crew on board could barely comprehend what had happened. Standard protocols would have failed, resulting in the loss of the ship and its valuable data. Humans had acted where rules could not, improvising, risking, and succeeding against impossible odds. Arya floated in the observation lounge later that night, staring at the swirling colors of a distant nebula. "They'll never understand us," she said softly. Jalen joined her, leaning against the wall. "Some will try, most will fail, but it doesn't matter. Humanity's power isn't something they can define or control. It's in what we do when it counts. And it's why the galaxy will always need us." Humans were no longer merely reckless or unpredictable. They were essential. But not all accepted this truth. Some coalition members feared the growing influence of humans, worried that their unpredictability might one day threaten order itself. Jalen knew this fear was natural. Any species that could act decisively in chaos would unsettle those who relied on rigid rules. But he also knew that humanity's strength lay not in submission, but in courage, intelligence, and determination. Arya and Jalen continued training and preparing the human crew, knowing that the galaxy would continue to test them. Every mission was another opportunity to demonstrate that humans were not defined by rules, technology, or hierarchy, but by their ability to adapt, survive, and lead when it mattered most. As the flagship cruised through the endless stars, Arya reflected on how far humans had come. From a single helmet falling in the vacuum of space to saving colonies and research vessels, humanity had repeatedly proven its value, not through compliance, but through courage, ingenuity, and the instinct to act. The galaxy might resist understanding them, but it could not resist their results. The moment of defiance that had begun with a simple act of bravery had now expanded into a legacy. Humans were a force unlike any other, capable of turning impossible situations into triumphs. The coalition could debate, monitor, and attempt to control them, but humans would always act when it mattered most. And as Arya stared out at the stars, she felt the spark of something larger than herself, a certainty that humanity's journey was only beginning, and that no rule, no alien fear, and no obstacle could ever contain the power of courage, intelligence, and determination combined. The universe had glimpsed humanity in action, and it would never be the same again. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. After the series of daring human missions, coalition leaders could no longer ignore the undeniable truth. Humans were not just another species among many. They were extraordinary in ways that defied prediction, reason, and protocol. Some feared them, some admired them, but all knew that the course of the future would be shaped by their actions. On the flagship Aurora's Edge, Commander Jalen Rourke and Lieutenant Arya Kepler prepared for what might be their most important mission yet. A remote star system, home to a network of research colonies and trade hubs, had fallen under threat from a massive interstellar storm. The storm was moving unpredictably, carrying ionized gas and meteoric debris that could wipe out entire colonies in hours. Automated systems warned that nothing could survive without immediate intervention. The Coalition Council hesitated, arguing over strategy, risk, and responsibility. Jalen looked at Arya, the same instinctive confidence in her eyes that had carried them through previous crises. "This is it," he said. "The galaxy wants us to follow rules. I say we do what humans do best. We act." Aliens watched in cautious silence as humans coordinated their efforts, weaving through the storm, analyzing the chaos, and improvising solutions in real time. Algorithms calculated some possibilities, but only humans could adapt so quickly to the constantly changing conditions. As the storm approached the central trade hub, debris began to batter the outlying colonies. Automated shields activated but failed to fully stabilize against the storm's unpredictable waves. Arya piloted her pod through the outer defenses, redirecting energy to weak points, while Jalen coordinated multiple pods in a complex ballet, each human acting instinctively yet in perfect synchronization with the others. Time seemed to stretch and compress all at once. An enormous piece of meteorite, jagged and fast, hurtled toward the central colony. Protocol would have called for evacuation, perhaps even abandonment, but Arya had already seen a way to save it. Using magnetic clamps, her pod latched onto the meteorite. With careful, precise adjustments, she altered its trajectory just enough to guide it safely past the colony. The motion was delicate, requiring strength, timing, and judgment that no machine could replicate. Behind her, other humans acted with the same precision and courage. They repaired damaged shields, stabilized structures, and prevented cascading failures in systems the aliens had assumed were doomed. Every act demonstrated a truth that coalition leaders had struggled to accept. Humans could achieve what the rules could not. Jalen watched from the flagship, coordinating and supporting, heart pounding as pods maneuvered dangerously close to massive debris. He had trained for years to handle crises, but even he marveled at the human instinct displayed by the crews. They did not hesitate. They did not wait, they acted, and every action saved lives. Hours passed, and slowly the storm's threat began to diminish. Human pods had redirected debris, reinforced fragile shields, and stabilized every colony in the system. When the last meteor passed and sensors showed the colonies intact, a wave of quiet awe swept through the coalition observers. They had witnessed something extraordinary. The council convened shortly afterward, this time in person aboard the Aurora's edge. The chamber was filled with tension. Many of the leaders were reluctant to speak, but the evidence was irrefutable. Humans had saved billions of lives through courage, ingenuity, and decisive action. Protocols had failed, algorithms had failed, and yet humanity had succeeded. Jalen addressed the council. "You've seen what humans can do. We're not reckless. We're not unpredictable in the sense you fear. We're capable of seeing beyond rules when lives are at stake. That's what defines us. That's why humanity belongs at the heart of the galaxy, not on the sidelines." Humans possess a quality unlike any other: the ability to act decisively and effectively when all else fails. And sometimes, courage, intelligence, and compassion must guide action over procedure. That is what humans bring to the stars. We will integrate humans into leadership roles where their judgment and courage can be applied. The rules will remain, but humanity will operate with discretion that acknowledges their unique abilities. For the first time, the coalition had formally acknowledged what they had always known. Humans were extraordinary, and their courage and intelligence were indispensable. In the days that followed, humans began to take on more prominent roles within the coalition. They were not merely participants, they were leaders, advisors, and innovators. Their ability to improvise, act decisively, and inspire others became a model for cooperation across species. The galaxy began to see that human unpredictability was not a threat, it was a gift. Arya spent time teaching young human cadets and coalition trainees alike. She emphasized observation, courage, and quick thinking. "Rules guide us," she explained, "but they cannot replace action. You must learn to act when it counts, to trust your instincts, and to protect life above all else." Systems were adjusted to allow human-led interventions where rapid decision-making was necessary. One evening, as Arya floated near the observation deck, staring at the endless stars, Jalen joined her. "Do you remember the day your helmet fell?" he asked. She smiled faintly, remembering the terror and the strange exhilaration of that moment. "I do," she said. "It was terrifying, but also defining. That's when I realized what humans could do, what we could be." Humanity had faced danger, defied expectation, and inspired not only their own kind but the entire coalition. The helmet had fallen, rules had been broken, and in doing so, humans had reshaped their place in the galaxy. Arya and Jalen looked at each other, a shared understanding passing silently between them. They had seen what humans could do in the vacuum of space, amid storms and against overwhelming odds. They knew that the future would bring new challenges, but humanity's strength was no longer in question. Courage, intelligence, and the instinct to act when action mattered most would always carry them forward. In the months that followed, humans led numerous missions across the galaxy, from exploring dangerous nebulae to mediating conflicts in unstable systems. Each mission reinforced the truth: humans thrived where others hesitated. Their unpredictability became a tool for survival, their courage a beacon for cooperation, and their intelligence a key to solving problems no technology could foresee. The coalition adjusted, slowly but inevitably. Humans were no longer anomalies. They were essential. Leaders sought human advice, scientists collaborated with human explorers, and younger aliens looked to humans as examples of what determination and courage could achieve. Humanity had proven that rules were guidelines, not limits. Life could not be reduced to protocol alone. Arya floated alone on the observation deck one night, watching a distant star flare with intense light. It reminded her of the first time she had felt the vacuum's chill on her skin, the moment her helmet had fallen. In that instant, everything had changed. One moment of courage had sparked a series of actions that had reshaped the galaxy's perception of her species. Jalen appeared beside her, quietly watching the same star. "We've come far," he said. "We have," Arya agreed. "But the journey is only beginning. The galaxy is full of challenges, but humanity will always rise to meet them." The galaxy had seen humanity at its best: courageous, intelligent, and willing to act when action was the only choice that could make a difference. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Arya knew this truth would guide humanity for generations to come. Life was worth fighting for, and humanity had the power to shape the universe itself. The helmet had fallen. Laws had been defied. But in that defiance, humanity had risen, proving that courage, ingenuity, and heart were the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The coalition had seen it, the colonies had felt it, and every human aboard the Aurora's Edge carried that spark forward. And in that moment, looking out into the infinite void, Arya understood something essential. Humanity's greatest adventure was only beginning. The stars were waiting, and humans would never stop reaching for them. The universe would never be the same again.